This review is brought to you by Merrimack Cinemas, an independent 6-screen movie theater with stadium seating, first-run movies, alternative content, and expanded concessions with a free refill on all sizes of popcorn, soda, and even icy. Did we just sell out? Venom, starring Tom Hardy and directed by Ruben Fleischer, the guy that directed Zombieland, which makes total sense now after acknowledging that. Total sense. So Venom is a villain from the Spider-Man universe. You may have heard of him. He was in a terrible movie once, directed by Sam Raimi. But this version of Venom has nothing to do with Spider-Man, but does have everything to do with Tom Hardy. And that might be the best part of this movie, probably, is Tom Hardy's performance. As much as I don't really like the way that he is portraying the character of Eddie Brock, I do enjoy what he is doing on screen, but I don't, being just a huge fan of this character, I don't think it really fits for what I think the character should be, but taking a step out of my fandom and trying to just watch this movie for what it is, I like just watching Tom Hardy on screen, so seeing Tom Hardy play this kind of more nervousy character that gets like kind of a superpower and becomes a hero it's a fun ride. It's a very campy ride. It's very 90s superhero movie. That's what this movie is. It's campy and it's fun, but it's tonally all over the place, and that's probably my biggest gripe. Coming from a filmmaker's standpoint, I don't know what they're trying to go for. Is it a comedy? Is it horror? Like, pick one, run with it. I mean, you can have comic relief, but it feels like it's trying to be funny, or maybe it's not. There's a lot of moments where I found myself laughing and then questioning whether or not the scene was supposed to be funny. So it's kind of a good bad movie. The action is cool. It's shot gorgeously. It's all shot with anamorphic lenses, so all the light beams look really amazing, and the lighting on Venom and the way that it reflects is really good too. I think the character looks great on screen. I don't like some of the phasing in and out, and I feel like it should be more slimy, but that's my comic book geekiness coming back into this review. I'm trying to keep it at bay, at least for this portion. Tom Hardy's not the only great actor in this movie. We have Michelle Williams and Riz Ahmed, but they're totally wasted. They're great actors, great performers. They're very wasted in the movie. Riz's character, Carlton Drake, is just a very one-note villain. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing with this character. Like, this guy is the dude from Nightcrawler, and he's absolutely amazing in that film, and in this movie he's just kind of one note the whole time. He's just bad guy. Like, you look at him and immediately you know he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy from beginning to end. There's no real twist there. Michelle Williams, great actress, has no chemistry with Tom Hardy. Neither these characters there's no on-screen chemistry whatsoever. It's hard to believe that they love each other. With all that said, let's jump into my fandom on how much I just love this character. I love Venom. I'm a huge fan of Todd McFarlane, the creator of Venom. I'm a huge fan of the 90s animated series. I've just been a big fan of this character from the get-go. He's my favorite Spider-Man villain, if not like one of my favorite villains ever. It's like the Joker and Venom. Like, those are my favorite villains. And Darth Vader. I get to throw that in there too. The motivations in this movie are the weakest point. Venom and Eddie Brock come together with really weak motivations, and in the comic books they come together because they hate Spider-Man. And in a world without Spider-Man, without those motivations, it's just hard to believe that these two want to be together. I mean, they create some motivations, but they're just really weak. And that's the part that I was hard for me to buy into. I do like their back and forth. I like the way they communicate. I like the way that Tom Hardy kind of goes insane when he's hearing this voice in his head of Venom. I like all of that, but I just don't buy into him wanting him around. Especially with a lot of the stuff that happens in this movie. It gets really dark in moments in the horror aspect, which can be really fun visually, but I feel like any person in their right mind put through that would not just be so chill about it all. So all in all, this movie is kind of a fun bad ride. It's not a terrible movie. It's not great by any means. It's kind of reminds me of 90s superhero movies, just super campy, kind of like what was that movie, Steel, with Shaquille O'Neal? Kind of like that, maybe? I don't know. I feel like superhero movies nowadays are up to a higher caliber, with the MCU, even Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. We've got some really good superhero movies nowadays, and this movie just kind of falls flat. I don't see this character being involved in the MCU in any way. I know this is kind of like a lot of people's hope. I don't see them picking up on this. If anything, they're just take the rights to Venom and redo it in the MCU. Like I want them to do that. I want them to do it right. I don't want to, as much as I love Tom Hardy, I don't want to see this version of the character involved in any way, shape, or form with Spider-Man. With that said, though, let's score it. Do we score it? That's what we do on the show. It's like a 5.5 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. It didn't quite make it fresh. So yeah, that wraps up this review. And look, I mean, we're back. We're doing reviews again. I promise this isn't a one-off. We'll be back actually Monday with Spoiling Dead. And at the end of this month is Midwest Horror Fest in Logansport, Indiana at the State Theater. So come check that out. We'll be there hanging out, watching tons and tons of horror movies all weekend long. And don't forget, this review is brought to you by Mary Mac Cinemas in Logansport, Indiana. If you're going to go see Venom this weekend, check it out there. Having issues.